What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So I figured I was going to do a video, but why not just do a live stream? It's better to engage with you guys, and then we can kind of talk on things. So I just want to start off by going over what on earth is happening today based on the data and where it might be going from here. So I'll give you a good summary. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. It's always greatly appreciated to do that. I do got the have the live ticker at the very bottom as well, so you see pretty much what is happening in the market. So currently down roughly about 6.75%, 103 million for volume. So very heavy volume day. Looking at the intraday chart though, I just wanted to start off by addressing kind of the big elephant in the room, what happened pre-market. And as based on, for instance, if you guys watch my channel, I did bring up that there was going to be a gamma squeeze. And this is basically what a gamma squeeze is. In case you guys don't know what gamma squeeze is, it's in relation to exercised options. So when there's a very big influx of, for instance, option activity, which is exactly what did happen on Friday. So I'll give you a good breakdown just so you see that. So on Friday right here, this is all the options activity. Very large amount of call options that was purchased. Of course, depending on what does happen, I'll just make this a little bit bigger. So it depends on what happens. A lot of the actual chains that was purchased was very much in the money, meaning that they're going to get exercised. So for instance, each one of these lines is represented by 5 minutes. Each one is basically about 3 million shares that did get exercised. So back to this, and yes, okay, so back to this is basically a gamma squeeze. So a lot of options activity, market makers were covering those options. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys. I just wanted to quickly break that down. A lot of people just say, well, that's fine and all, but why didn't it continue to go up? Well, market makers covered their position, and clearly someone at the very beginning did a massive dump at the very beginning of the day. And that was on the secondary market, which typically has a little bit lower volume. So I'll give you a quick breakdown of that. So you do see right at the market open, there was a $10 million premium. And it was, as you can see here, it shows the bid and the ask. So at the time it was 1301 and 1303. So this is why you can kind of see the data behind the scenes. So whoever did sell sold it at 13 below the bid, meaning it was just a outright sell, and they were doing it to get rid of and break past the support. So clearly someone behind the scenes, I guess, does kind of validate that to some level it was just more of a pump. But again, this is market makers covering, and technically if you do look at the options activity today as well, it's exactly the same thing. You do have a little bit more puts being purchased as well, but majority all the green is calls. So options activity has been crazy, as has the transactions on secondary market and dark pool. Keep in mind though, when I talk about transactions, doesn't necessarily always mean buys. So again, it's kind of hit and miss in that regard, right? So for instance, right here, this transaction bid was 1189. Ask 1190, and the price that was sold at was 1189. So clearly that was a sell. So again, just keep that into perspective. But I think generally speaking, a lot of people really don't know how to digest that recent rumor. Some people are trying to figure out if it's good, bad, the ugly. Some people, I don't know. There's a lot of different emotions, as I kind of said initially when the rumor did come out. A lot of people have to think about if it is true, what's your game plan? Like if you have a $20 average, you have a kind of difficult decision somewhat, versus if you have a $6 or $7 average, well, hell, it doesn't make a difference to you pretty much. So it's an interesting time period, but like I said in a previous video, I believe the one that came out yesterday, technically, I was under the impression that with the PIF having a controlling interest in Lucid, they were kind of exempt from having a vote. But I read through the articles of incorporation for Lucid, and it does state that typically a takeover can't occur unless they've held for longer than 3 years. Of course, the PIF hasn't held Lucid for longer than 3 years. So just in among that, they're kind of disqualified. But there's a snippet in there. If there's 2/3 of the vote in favor of it, excluding the PIF, then it goes past. So Still a lot of people saying, yes, it's real. No, it's not. A lot of people throwing up this aspect right here. Wow, none of my tabs are working. Okay, there we go. So suspenseful. But a lot of people bringing this up right here. If rumors are in fact false, they should be promptly denied and clarified. So a lot of people is like, well, since Lucid didn't necessarily come out, then it's true. On the opposite end, then if rumors are correct, basically they need to do PR. So it's kind of funny. A lot of people are very much orienting their posts towards what they truly want to say or what maybe people want to say. Yeah, so this is under the SEC rules, so 202 sub 03, dealing with rumors or unusual market activity. So in general, I think Lucid still, regardless, should have done some PR, because here it does say if the rumors are false, then you do blah, blah, blah. It also says if the rumors are correct, you do blah, blah, blah. So no matter what, they should have done something, in my opinion. And the only article that I've seen that actually states that Lucid responded to them was right here. Lucid told Seeking Alpha in an email that it doesn't comment on on rumors or speculation. So I don't know. Still, I think it's too early to tell about if it's true or not. But so as far as making a brand new position, I'd be very worried about doing that. I kind of would just personally take a step back and just watch things develop, because I think it's too early to physically say or tell what is truly happening. But clearly, based on the volume, it is technically selling off a little bit, but I think it's also piggybacking off of Tesla. A lot of worried individuals about this upcoming data point. So for instance, in case you guys don't know, on February the 1st, so on Wednesday, the Feds are making another interest rate decision. It is forecasted to be 25 basis points of an increase. So at that stage, I think the market would technically sell off a little bit if that does happen, because there is a lot of people under the impression it is going to be the 4.5. So a lot of different moving parts. Tabs, yeah, the $12 price was was good. And I know some of you guys might disagree, but I feel that the 12 to Vortex is just garbage today. What the hell? But I know some of you might disagree, but I still think that if a takeover was done and the PIF wanted to buy out the remaining shares, it would be in fact between the 12 to 13. I know some of you want 60, 18, whatever it is, but based on Lucid's last earnings, they technically did, what was it? Their true intrinsic value is around $7 to $8. So if you factor that in, or even if you better yet factor in what the PIF recently bought it at, I think it was 10.56, add a 20% premium, hypothetically, that's where you kind of get the 12. But again, I could be wrong on that. And keep in mind, to add to the overall allure or mix, you do see right at the top right here, the PIF, Lucid did submit a 8K document as well. And in this document, they technically talk on the upcoming shareholder meeting. So no matter what, this document does say that they have, shareholders have up until February the 13th to potentially bring forward anything that they want to vote on, aka it could be that takeover by the PIF. But no matter what, even if the PIF brings forward a question, it's not like investors are going to know. Like, we're still going to be in the dark until the February 22nd is going to be the shareholder meeting. Hopefully they would bring up that. If not, we find out at their shareholder meeting, plain and simple. So a lot of different moving parts as usual when it comes down to Lucid, and typically they're not that transparent, but yeah, that's where it is for right now. And still, like I said, a lot of big buying is happening, almost about 300 to 500, or for instance on Friday was roughly about 550 transactions, both on the dark pool and 500-ish on the secondary market, which is like probably about 15 times what the normal volume is. And it's crazy. So, and yeah, but still, it is what it is based on the options activity as well. it seems to be very much orienting. For instance, at the very beginning of the market, there was 34.06 thousand options that was purchased, $4.05 million of a premium. And the hot change today is looking around the 12.50. There is a lot of being purchased for the $20 price, 4 days. So clearly nobody knows where it's going, plain and simple. Appreciate you guys coming out though. I'll take a look at the chat, see what you guys are saying. Exactly. Yeah, just because the PIF does have deep pockets doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do that. In my opinion, a couple of people asked me on Twitter, like, what is my thoughts on it? Do I think it's real, or do I think it's positive or negative? Well, for the PIF, they're getting it cheap. No different. That's why you saw all the other EVs rally on Friday. They were gaining the momentum from Lucid, because when an acquisition occurs or a transaction, well, that's usually a signal that the market has bottomed, typically. So I think was very, very positive. Generally shows that there's a substantial discount and a good intrinsic value being placed on EVs right now. So there's that aspect, which of course is very beneficial for the PIF. But I think investors are going to be the ones that get screwed if this is true, of course, because what does happen is, well, here on out, Lucid's going to ramp up production, typically, and do a lot more other projects going to be very beneficial for investors. For investors that held through the crap of 2022, it's not really beneficial for them to be able to be forced to sell their position because on like the verge of things starting to ramp up. It just sucks right now for that. And plus, majority of which, probably about half, would be forced to sell at a loss. So I think investors, it's very negative for my own thoughts on that, of course. Let's see. Yeah, see, some of you don't think it's going to go private, which I think there's arguments that could be made on both. Yeah, Misha, yeah. Okay, so as far as what's happening with the shorts, most of them there's not really much activity today. So short score is 92, extremely high. Shares on loan is starting to go back up again, so 242,000. Utilization is still 100%. And for instance, on Interactive Brokers, as of 5:30 in the morning, nothing's changed. So there is no physical shares to lend out. So a lot of naked shorting is technically happening right now. And I think that did aid in the bump up a little bit on Friday as well. But 311,000 shares is what they are increasing right now. Cost to borrow starting to go back up a little bit. So cost to borrow average is 95 or 96%. But still, I've looked at a lot of other EVs, for instance, Mullen, Rivian, Tesla, a lot of other ones, and their short interest is just mind-blowingly low in compared to Lucid. So 25.35 is the short interest on Lucid right now. Of course, like I showed you guys with the gamma squeeze that did happen, let's say there was verification and proof that this rumor was true. Well, guess what? This is where you'd have a massive squeeze on the hands as well. But I think right now a lot of shorts did in fact hedge with options through Friday and also for today as well. So again, this is the Friday activity that did happen. This is typical retail. This clearly isn't. Each 5 minutes was roughly about $5 million in this kind of area, this line right here. So this isn't retail, and this is today's activity. So similar kind of action, this amount of volume isn't retail at all. So it's an interesting dynamic. If there is proof, then yeah, there would be a very prompt squeeze, but I think there's a little bit more of a disconnect. People are assuming that if it squeezes to $50 or $60, that's what the PIF is going to pay for it. No, the PIF would potentially just still offer let's say for argument's sake, $15. That's what they're going to offer. It doesn't really can't compare the two. Yeah, Travis, this is one hell of a rocky market. Faraday, I like that, but they're going to need to dilute a lot. I just saw your question, but Misha, so yeah, so not too much as far as the change in shorts in reality. This is all just longs. And keep in mind, a lot of these transactions that's happening today is just the institution's algorithms. So they're I'm sure going off like crazy because the technicals as well are still technically a little bit more overbought. Still at 77. So stochastic is relatively high. Number of retail investors are getting out today, and you can see that based on momentum indicator. And even hypothetically, looking on the actual chart, it is outside the boiling band. And as I've said in the past, unless there's some justifiable reason for it to be out, it typically gets retraced back in. So if I was to give a prediction on what will happen for instance, the remainder of the week, I think that it most likely will continue to trend down up until around the maybe 1070, 1050-ish range, which of course I know some of you don't want to hear, but it most likely will continue to trend down until most likely the Fed meeting. Or better yet, unless the PIF or Lucid does come out and addresses the rumor, but I can't see that happening just how Lucid is. They're very, very silent. Well, the thing is, so does Lucid have to say anything when it is an investor that is working behind the scenes to buy out the shares? It isn't Lucid per. That is true, RJ. Well, I guess it all depends because based on this, so dealing with rumors and unusual market activity, or 202 sub 3 of the SEC Act, is kind of gray. And I think this is where it is people can get away with gray, and the SEC will never really penalize someone for being within the gray. And what I mean by gray is technically RJ is right. Lucid, it could be very much just the PIF doing it, and as far as Lucid is concerned, they don't know any better, right? So technically, yeah, they don't really have to say anything right now. It'd be nice. I think throughout all of 2022, it would have been nice for a little bit more transparency, but it's not what we get. The PIF, oddly enough, based on my interpretation of what has happened over the last year, they kind of have a big mouth a little bit, and because there's a lot of things that do kind of slip out that Lucid news comes out through them. So I don't know. There's, like I said, a lot of different moving parts. Everyone has a different circumstance. Everyone has a different average. Some people are very much for this happening. Some people are against it. I would be kind of against it because I've been holding for a while, and I'm pretty happy with Lucid generally. This upcoming earnings, a little hit and miss maybe. So I think this upcoming earnings might be the last negative one. So being forced to potentially sell in May, maybe, it's not really advantageous. Yeah, Dan, I agree. Going sub 10, it's not realistic because you have to factor in that now the market was at that stage already starting to rally. So it basically got to around 950 before rumors started to really pop on that. So it's realistic that 950, the market kind of appreciated a little bit, so kind of 10-ish, but I think at the end of the day, there's different mentalities. Some people got very hyped up by what has happened since Friday. So they're like, oh, I'm going to buy in before I miss out on the $60 opportunity. Well, that might not happen. And that's a little bit more of a gambling a little bit. That's more, you're kind of basing and kind of betting on a rumor. And I think that's always a losing game. Whereas Lucid and having a long-term mentality, that's usually, historically at least, outdone for a ROI standpoint. Will Mullen, someone asked, will Mullen go bankrupt? As I've said in the past, any company, such as even Lucid, any stock that is being traded on an exchange, is very, very hard for them to go bankrupt. unless they are not doing any product. Because what happens is someone can dilute to kingdom come all the time. So for instance, let's say in Lucid's case, they drop down to 9, they need money. Well, guess what? They'll dilute. They can do it 15 cents cheaper than what the market price is, and that's sufficient as far as a discount. So $8.75, for instance, or $8. They can always dilute as much as they want, and that will give liquidity for any company. So I don't think Mullen is going to go bankrupt because it's going to dilute a lot, but that is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It sucks for investors because it's just going to be a lot of dilution, but bankruptcy, probably not. Pele, why didn't I sell at $17? Because I was doing a 4-hour live stream, and well, I have 2 accounts I have Lucid in. One has high 7s for an average, so no matter what, even if there's a takeout at $12, whatever, I'm happy with that. My other account is 1020, I think it is, for an average. Not too many. I think I only have like 1,500 shares in that one. So I'm still at a profit right now, so hypothetically, I guess I could sell. But like, I like Lucid. I don't like their management, all of them, but I like Lucid and their product. That is going to sell, and I know that. So I don't want to play the rumor kind of aspect because it's not worth it. I've already been down, especially in that one account, at a loss down to, was it $6 or whatever it was. I've lived with that, and I know generally it's hard to catch the bottom, and it is what it is, right? But yes, I guess hypothetically, even when I was streaming, I'm sure you guys can always go back and replay that. I was like, well, this is crazy. This is way oversold or even overdone, and exactly, yeah, Travis. This Fed meeting, I think, will be one of the biggest ones because the data points that have been coming out is very positive. So signaling, especially more so CPI as well. So CPI, for the most part, is showing that inflation is peaked. The Feds have a tough decision because they don't want to prompt a recession. If they raise the rates potentially to 470 or 400 or oh god, I can't even talk, 475 basis points, then it could really spark a recession and kind of cause things to escalate a little bit more. So oddly, I actually am believing a lot of the kind of rumors potentially about it being 4.5%. Which I think if that does happen, it would cause the market to really spike up really fast. When are bear flyovers? To be fully honest, this might come off as I don't actually look at other people's YouTube. I actually don't watch other people. I'm sometimes I'm mostly on Twitter, and then I see some snippets of that. If I find it interesting, then I go to his channel and kind of take a look at that stream. But I don't actually look at it every day. I think it's 4 days a week, I think. If I remember, I don't know. Maybe someone in here will know a little bit more. Oh, thanks, Guy. Yep. Well, I think I went down Pandora's box, started to research a little bit because, again, I was under the impression that a controlling company that has a controlling interest in a company can actually just do a vote without anything, which turns out is actually kind of true. If they held Lucid for longer than 3 years, they could have just done that. They could have just said, hey, I'm buying it for this price. And there would be no shareholder vote. But because of it being within the 3 years, it's kind of funny. I wonder why they put that in there in the letters of incorporation. Going through a lot of documents, 172 pages, tons of stuff I had to read through. And of course, there's a lot of things in here, like I said already, that there's gray aspects to it. But what I brought up in that video was the most relevant. Rankind, how would going private not negatively affect opinion of Lucid? Of course, that is where people, my own argument, if they do actually take it over, where they would give an extra premium. So hypothetically, what happens is normally 20% is the standard. Anywhere from 10 to 25, I'd say, is the standard for a premium. You pay that over the market price and just keeps investors happy, all right? But in the PIF and Lucid, I think the PIF, if this is true, once again, it's advantageous to keep a positive image of Lucid because Lucid is their key to North America. Because all of the other ventures that they have, for instance, Sear and that joint venture with, I can't remember the name, but that other joint venture that's doing lower price vehicles that joined with the Chinese company, they have Saudi Arabia covered. So it doesn't make sense that they would really go all in on Lucid because then that's a massive overkill for their region and most likely would kind of cut them off from North America, which of course is one of those very, very untapped markets because Europe, China are massively, and stats prove it, that there's a massive demand for EVs. The States, oddly enough, prior to 2022, really showed a lack of demand for EVs. So I think this is why when they first started having a huge amount of reservations, I was blown away. I was like, well, this is crazy. This is good for the States. But you're right. It would really deter people from buying a Lucid. Kyle, I did a cover call for January 24th, and then the PIF does a buyout of the remainder of Lucid. What happens? If anyone does have options, I'll quickly go over here just to break it down. So Lucid options chain. So for instance, just argument's sake, let's say, it doesn't matter about the expiry date, but for instance, let's say they offer $11. Well, basically anything less than $11 kind of gets expired worthless because, or sorry, anything below, well, it would automatically adjust to, let's say if the market is at 11, well, I guess basically at this $10 one, you'd be paying $1. That's what the market price is. So it would work out to be anyone who bought high amounts, so 18 or less, anywhere from like 12 to 18, you'd lose out. So it all depends on your expiry date that you did buy. Options is a kind of different beast. When someone asked that during my live stream, I had no idea. I had to quickly Google that, and supposedly it adjusts. I've never really encountered that circumstance. I've been through transactions and deals in the past where buyouts occur, but I've never had options where a buyout occurs. That's, I think, an interesting one. Exactly, Corey. I think a lot of people have the same mentality as you. This is a long-term investment, and things are getting good. I wouldn't necessarily buy these discounts right now or at this price, but still, once it does get to a happy price and factors in, I guess, the market and also the upcoming earnings, then yeah, things can definitely move forward from there and be very beneficial. Taz, if the PIF does bid 13, who decides if a good deal? It's going to come down to 2/3 of the shareholders have to vote in favor of it. So that's part of Lucid's letters, articles of incorporation. They have to vote, at least the shareholders have to vote on that, excluding the PIF. So their massive voting power isn't influenced in that. It's everyone else will vote on if it's advantageous, say yes or no. Plain and simple. So if they do offer 13, I have a weird feeling that majority of people will say no, because even institutions, based on BlackRock, I think their average is around 15, 14, somewhere around there. So even if they do bid 13, I think a lot of the institutions would say no. Exactly, Travis. Like I said, I think half of investors would get screwed. So anyone, for instance, what Taz said, if they do bid 13, anyone with a higher average than 13, you are in a nice way screwed. Well, I guess not necessarily screwed. Actually, yeah. Unfortunately. It sucks. Like, it benefits individuals like myself that have a, for instance, 7.5 or whatever it is average, because no matter what, I think they're going to offer more than 8 if it is true. So people who average down, very good. People who have a $40 average that maybe they were waiting for eventually the next 4 years or 3 years, whatever it is, for it to go up, they get screwed. That's a bad circumstance right there. I'll just hit refresh. The difference between today, though, as far as the options, though, you do see a lot more puts being purchased. And again, based on the amount of volume, that's not retail. So keep in mind what happened on Friday. Shorts did hedge their bets with options. So they bought a ton of call options. And maybe this is their way of hedging against the hedge. So now they're buying a put to kind of hedge against their call that they bought, which is a typical strategy in general. Tabs, yeah, good. Yeah, that Tab is a master of options, so he probably would know best. I think it's just a Russian roulette, though. Nobody really knows. Exactly. Well, the thing is, MEO time. For instance, let's say they offer PIF tomorrow or even later today. It says, hey, look, we're going to offer you 14, for instance. Well, the market's going to automatically go to $14. That's what happens. So for someone who has a $40 average, in order for them to average down, it's almost near impossible. They'd probably have, it's not feasible. They'd have to take advantage of scenarios such as this right now to average down. But what if the PIF comes out with $11 bid? Then they're screwed even more. So it's very difficult. Everyone has different circumstances, like I said, but some of which is going to benefit, some don't. Yeah, exactly, Taz. I believe Vanguard has a 13, from what I saw, 13 average, and BlackRock has a 14 and a half-ish average, 15. So yeah, you're right. I can't see physically that passing because of that, but yeah, Taz. See, that's the thing. There's so many different moving things that if there is a no, then I guess it comes back into the PIF's court. Are they going to raise it? So if they get a no at 13, what are they going to do? Raise it to 15? Do another revote? Who knows? Or do they just take a step back and just let Lucid go? Because still, there is a lot of institutions that are coming out and posting saying that there's going to be a massive recession. And if that is the case, then Lucid potentially could go down even further. And then who knows? PIF might just come in and sweep and buy the rest. There's a lot of different moving parts, but yeah, it's interesting to see all the things behind the scenes. But based on the latest round of 13Fs, though, I think in general it's showing a good sense of that institutions are really compliant with Lucid and that they're really okay. So, for instance, actually one positive thing, ALPS Clean Energy ETF did increase 40%. So that one's a pretty big one as well. But majority of the actual institutions have been, for the most part, increasing their position a little bit. Of course, it'll be very good to see, for instance, the PIF and some other big institutions such as Vanguard as well. And I believe based on Vanguard, because what happens is these ETFs are just more so a sub of Vanguard itself. So when you see this ETF increase 25%, it's a fair indication that the net amount for Vanguard is going to go up. So you do see Vanguard right here, 7%. Vanguard Consumer Discretionary Index Fund, 91%. So a lot of good moving parts right here. Vanguard Russell 1000, 10% up. So it is looking like it's holding some pretty good support at that 1170 range, but on the actual chart, it looks like it's kind of in no man's land a little bit still, though. It would just be nice for some PR for once. Hey, Mark, thanks for coming out. Misha, yeah, if they see, that's the thing. If they do offer 20, then this is a very good time to buy. Keep it like, so people always have to have their own best interests in mind. So for instance, are you going to be buying now because you think it'll go to 20? Maybe. But what if there is no rumor? Then you're basically overpaying for Lucid right now. Double-edged sword as usual. Prince, my average is 17 and I don't know if I should borrow money to average down. I don't think it's a good, yeah, to be honest, it's a difficult scenario. I personally am not even touching Lucid, not selling, not buying. I'm just waiting for something to either proof it's true or denial. At that stage, then you can make a sound decision, realistic sound decision. Right now, you're just speculating or adding to the speculation. Someone did, during my live stream though, I did do a video. Here, let me just pull this up. Someone, once again, I think people have a lot more attention span than me, but there was a video that I did post, and it was important Lucid updates. So you can kind of see it right here. So this is behind the scenes of YouTube anyways, but important Lucid updates. This is the one with 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, and someone did catch in the actual podcast that he says that Lucid is a Saudi company. I guess that just blew over my head because people say that so much in passing, just, oh, it's a Saudi company, whatever. But it's interesting that maybe he was giving an Easter egg of a precursor. Because, in case you guys don't know who this individual is, Faisal, if I'm saying his, I'm really bad with names on a side note, but 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗖𝗧, he is the VP of Managing Director of Lucid Middle East. And to be honest, he is one of the more educated individuals that I can tell. Like, I love how he actually spoke. Like, he gave a lot of good insight on Lucid, and his podcast, hands down, gave me more information than almost all of Lucid's PRs put together over the last year. He gave updates on China, why they're not necessarily really doing that, why they're really not necessarily pushing with self-automation or autonomous driving. Like, he gave so much context to it. Like he's good in my books. A lot of others, like Jeff Curry, like, he is the VP of communications. He should be doing something right now. Anything. Mio Time, why do you think Lucid is silent on this? They are silent on everything. News came out that, or rumors came out that they had a 2-week kind of stopped production for 2 weeks in April of 2022. Nothing coming out from Lucid. There was a rumor, so that kind of spread around. People who were pushing that rumor kind of got told that they're BS and whatever it is, but turns out that was very true. So Lucid isn't transparent, in case you don't know. Mike, I am the same boat as you. Not your average, but I'm happy to hold for a very long time. Oh. Beto, I know someone that works at Lucid, and she said he hasn't heard anything. Okay. Yeah, you know what, Beto? Like I said, I think there's arguments for both sides, because over the next year, most likely the PIF is going to have to give Lucid a lot of money through green bonds, through a lot of different formats. And not only that, though, Lucid most likely will need to dilute as well by probably Q4 of 2023, which is ironic. As I kind of said, Sherry House was saying for the longest time that they're good up until the tail end of 2023. I disagreed. I always said Q3 based on the funding. They got another round of 1.5 billion for money, but supposedly based on estimates, that's only good up until the now tail end of 2023. So very flawed in their aspect. So they will most likely need to dilute either tail end of Q2 or tail end of Q3 or possibly Q4. So coming from the PIF, to avoid all that and having their investment diluted, why not just buy it out? So that's one very good argument, is it saves them money. Prince, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's hard to tell and validate things nowadays. Someone could just say that they're an employee somewhere or whatever it is. But give you guys a quick update on this. So this is the options activity for today. The hot chains for right now. So 13. So there's 36,000 of volume at the $13 strike price ending expiring this coming Friday. 1250, there's 18,000. And to put that in perspective, this is what happened this morning, how there was a gamma squeeze. So let's say we close on Friday at 1301. That means Monday morning, similar to probably what happened today about the pre-market, you're going to have 3.6 million shares that's going to be needing to be exercised. And of course, market makers are going to need to cover that. So again, that's how gamma squeezes work. And that's just factoring in this one chain. There's also 1250, 18,000, 20. There's a lot of options activity happening today. And same goes for transactions, dark pool, everything like that. I don't anticipate any much activity coming from shorts this week because most of them hedged their bets with basically options over the next 2 weeks or so. But I'll give you guys a quick update on this. And looks like cost to borrow is actually going up as well. So last update was, I think, 93% or whatever it was when I gave. Yeah, it was 93, I think. Now it's 101%. So that's a positive aspect behind that. And that's largely because of a lot of retail most likely are turning off their lendings. People have been really pushing that out. But shorts are right now increasing 356,000 shares. Misha, yeah, it's adding one extra layer to the puzzle. But possible. So as far as an offer, so basically the PIF takes Lucid private and then merges with Apple. Could be a possible circumstance. It would be better just to cut out the middleman of the PIF and just have Apple buy out Lucid and just keep Lucid as still continuously trading just as a subsidiary of Apple. That could work. But again, not to burst a lot of people's bubbles, and I seem to burst a lot of people's bubbles when I sometimes give the true what the data is saying. I don't think there's going to be a squeeze, like I said, because majority of which, even if there is price appreciation naturally, let's say even to 17, a lot of options, a lot of shorts have hedged with options over the last little bit. So won't be a full-on squeeze to 200 on what a lot of people are assuming. And just the fact that we're going down with this much volume, it goes to show that just lack of buyers right now as well. You're right, Thomas. Yeah. Level of uncertainty, plus also the lockup as well was, I believe, on the 23rd, 24th. So I think that is even more convenient. The fact that there was that lockup and then all of a sudden that this rumor comes out doesn't make sense. So someone was doing something behind there. Prince, sorry I came late. Why haven't we heard from Lucid? Well, based on this, which of course is very much gray. So someone did bring up, or I believe RJ brought up, so 203 sub 3 of the SEC Act, which is dealing with rumors and unusual market activity, is kind of you have to bring up something. So it says if the rumors are true, where is it? Right here. If rumors are in fact false or inaccurate, you basically just promptly deny or clarify. Then right here, where is it? If rumors are correct or there's developments, an immediate candid statement, basically either way. If it's false or if it's true, they should bring it up. But Lucid right now could be very much left in the dark. So this is kind of gray to them. So they don't really, it's not their news. And in the past, the PIF has actually had a very big mouth and unleashed Lucid news. Keep in mind though, for those of you that have been investing for a while, since Q2 or even longer of 2022, do you remember guys who came out with the news about Lucid, Saudi doing up to 100,000 order of Air Grand Tourings I believe it was, or 100,000 vehicles. It was a PIF. They came out with the news first. So it's kind of funny that they are issuing Lucid news. So who knows? Exactly. Yeah. If there wasn't as many halts, it would have easily gone up significantly. But it definitely killed a lot of momentum. And yeah, if it would have probably gone to around 21, probably would have had a lot more different aspects as well. Probably shorts at that stage would start to close out the positions. A lot of people that would have had, for instance, puts might be buying shares or just covering their position. A lot of different things. But at this stage, though, I think right now, if you take that rumor out of the mix and just look at the data, it shows that most likely Lucid is going to go back to its pre-rumor levels, most likely. Shorts and institutions have done all the hedging that they can through options, most likely. And big money, from what it looks like at least, has started to really scale back and start to sell a lot of their positions. And in case you guys are wondering what happened today, so this was the pre-market. This was very much linked to gamma squeezes, but this big sell-off right here, I guess I can't zoom in more, right here, was largely kicked off because of one big institution that wanted to sell, and that is right here. So at 8:30 promptly, there was a $10 million sale. And you can tell that based on the bid, the ask. So 1301 was the bid, 1303 was the ask, and it was sold for 13. So a market sell to break past support. Potentially, it'd be very interesting to see who this was, because the fact that the actual size was very much linked to not an even number, that in my head at least, that rules out, for instance, BlackRock, Vanguard, a lot of the big players. That's more maybe an insider potentially, or like I said, based on here, Churchill had their lockup expiration, I think it's on the 23rd. So it'd be very, very interesting to see if that was in fact them. Again, just what I do, I like to throw every fact I have at you guys. I'm sure you guys might notice in my videos, I bring up a lot of kind of sometimes bullish, sometimes bearish, sometimes both in the same video. I just want to give you guys absolutely every aspect. You guys are the ones that make the decision. I'm not pressing the buy, not pressing the sell for you guys. So again, if you guys see that 10 million as a kind of a negative, then yeah, whatever, factor that in. Or plus, if you guys have ideas on who that might be, I'm open to it as well. Travis, I appreciate that. Thanks, Travis. Sometimes I get in heck for it. For instance, when I came out and I said that I think that if the PIF would buy it, it'd be most likely between the 12 to 13. Ooh, I got so much hate. It was fun. But, and plus, it's funny enough though, it's like, I've never fully understood when I say something that is what the data is saying. Someone immediately just says, I'm shorting or I'm a bear. Is like, what? That doesn't make sense. There's too many people, I think, that just want to hear nothing but good news, and it's really sad because those people really do have a lot of influence and they love to spread their optimistic viewpoint. So people sometimes have unrealistic expectations of situations. Whereas I love just, if you scrape away all the BS, all the emotion, you just see stats. If you look at stats, it will logically, well, for instance, just to throw some stats at you guys, I'll pull up my handy dandy calculator right here. So for instance, a lot of people are saying, well, hypothetically, if the PIF wants to buy Lucid at $60, well, let's see. So $60 times by the 1.83 billion, that would put Lucid at a $109.8 billion market cap. That is crazy. The fact that they are producing so far 7,000 vehicles in their whole lifespan and they're worth 109, that does not make any sense. And the PIF, who is still in the whole game to make money, they're not going to pay that at all. But of course, they're only paying the 700 million, the remaining shares, but still, they're not going to pay 109 million of an equivalent market cap for a company. Like, doesn't make sense. And plus, just to put that in perspective, I'll show you guys this. Right here. So let's see, does it pull it up? There you go, public investment fund. So public investment fund, as you can see here, based on what happened in Q3, because keep in mind they haven't submitted their Q4 one yet. This is all the transactions that they did do during that time frame. And so as far as where they actually did increase their position, so Google, so you can see that. Facebook, they increased that. And it looks like in Q3, those are the two positions that they did, in fact, increase their position. So clearly, behind the scenes, they're in it to make money. Or else they would be, everything would have changed. They would be buying every aspect of every company if that was the case. But they are in the game to make money. They're in the game to make a profit. So my apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for my kind of rant sometimes, but yeah, Thomas. Well, to be fully fair, nobody knew Tesla's earnings were coming out. That optimism, like when it was broke at 100, like that was a scary time. But I did get in initially. I got in at 128, then I got in at 106. I got crazy lucky there. So yeah, see you, Mark. Appreciate it. Oh, Arto, anytime. Yeah, exactly, Travis. People are just looking for copium, hopium, whatever it is. I think that's it's a losing game. Dave, no, I'm not on Truth Social. I am in Canada, as far as I know. I haven't actually looked at Truth Social ever, but just based on what I've heard, I think that's only available to Americans, I think. Thanks, Far. Yeah, meet Kevin. He's an interesting character. And on a side note, I don't know if you guys know this, but someone sent me his thing. He did actually message me though. He said thank you for basically everything I've helped with. But for those of you guys that do know Meet, he changed it. McKay. Meet McKay. Wow, but he works for Meet Kevin now. Oh, did he delete all of his Lucid videos? He totally did. Oh, but shit, he got a lot of views on that one. Damn. Meet McKay. That's pretty cool. At least he got a cool photo. Nice. Good stuff. Good for him, though. Definitely, yeah. So speaking of Meet Kevin, that's pretty cool. For those of you that have been around Lucid and on YouTube long enough, I'm sure you guys heard of McKay. Yeah, meet Kevin. He works in his own best interest. Yeah, Thomas, I'm very, very happy. See, that's the thing. You guys need to always realize it sucks. It's one of the most difficult things. There's two difficult things coming from an investor. One, averaging up. Mentally, it screws you. It's just very, very hard. So averaging up is a very difficult thing for investors to always do. And also buying the dip, trusting your due diligence. And NEO, I bought in pretty big at $9 when everyone was like, this garbage is going down, this is this. It's like, I don't know about that. So same goes for Lucid. Even when it was at, the reason why I have an average of high sevens is because during when there was a lot of fear, you average down. So think about it. If the market was great, Lucid would be at 100 easy. Yep. Well, kind of a little disclaimer to your comment, Lionel. It would be if they kept their original projections of 20,000. With the 6 to 7, I don't see it very realistic that they would be 100. If the market was even positive, they definitely would need ramping up. And most likely this upcoming weekend, I'm going to do a video, very in-depth video on potentially the outcomes of this upcoming earnings that investors really need to watch for. Because technically, even this rumor aside, we have to still continue to move on with day-to-day life and investing in Lucid. And the next big thing that we know is their upcoming earnings, which is on the 22nd. So there's some positives, some negatives that might be brought up in there. So they have to really address the kind of inventory issue with Air Grand Tourings. They really have to bring up a good number for the 2023 projections for targets. The rough estimate about there, and that's floating around, is that they're going to do between 24,000, and if that is true, I can see the market really taking that as a negative. But if it's 30 plus, then very good. But there's, like I said, a lot of different things happening, and they'll have to hopefully address this rumor, at least. Arto, some of you guys might disagree, but I think between 12 to 13 is kind of realistic and fair. And my reasoning is, keep in mind, like a year ago, it was at, 52-week range. Oh, that's it? Okay. But anyways, $31 was 52 weeks ago, or at least the high. So technically, it's not realistic that they pay that, because this is why during any market cycle, during the bottoms of any cycle, you see a lot more acquisitions, a lot more takeovers. So that is done because things are cheap. Like, if that was the case, if the PIF was willing to pay $30, they would have done this last year. Or better yet, the 2 times that they bought. So their initial purchase was just shy of about $10 a share. They recently bought in tail end of December for, I think it was $10.56. If that was the case, they would be paying $30 a share. But no, they're paying 10 because that's in their head what Lucid should be most likely worth. So a little bit more of a disconnect, a little bit. So if you take that price, roughly around $10.50, what they paid, add 20% to it, that's where I got the 12 to 13. Yeah, Thomas, the only one I ever got into was financial education. But he got very clickbaity-ish. But you're right. On occasion, I get notifications for StockMo all the time, so I think I'm subscribed, but I don't watch his channel per se. I think he got too much into crypto. Pedro, the thing is, I don't know. I wish I started with a thought there and I didn't really have anything. I don't really know. Let's take a look. So there's Bears Workshop. Oh, I am subscribed though. Okay, so Lucid 11 days ago. Oh, that is a little bit more of a gap. Maybe just a vacation. Yeah, clearly see this one I partially paid attention to, because I think I used this one in a video. But yeah, 11 days ago, that's abnormal. What's his normal? Lucid, so 3 weeks ago. I don't know, it kind of looks like he does once a week, maybe. So he skipped out on one, it looks like. I wouldn't say anything to worry about. Probably not really shorting it at that stage. Oh, RJ. Okay, I should have just looked at your comment. That answers it all. Out of town. Vacation. Seahawks, I'm absolutely doing nothing. I'm sitting back relaxing until there's either clarity to buy or to sell or whatever it is. So if the rumor's false, then it's going to probably drop down to more of a realistic price, probably the 10s-ish or mid-10s. Which at that stage, again, as I always say, everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has a different average. Everyone has different amounts in Lucid. So for instance, my average is high 7s and my other account is 10-20. So I'm pretty comfortable no matter what circumstance does play out, unless a massive recession happens. But I think I'm fairly good. Whereas someone who has a $40 average, they kind of have to ponder and think, what are their options? What's the best case? So right now I'm just sitting back watching everything play out. Exactly. Omar, not a lot. There is some kind of justification for them to do it, but there's also some for not. So there's kind of both different cases there. Abdullah, if they give 2023 guidance for, let's say, 35,000 for vehicles, well, that would put them in my head around probably by the end of the year, maybe about between a $40 to $60 price target. That's if they do that 23,000 and maintain it. That's the key. Don't just have 23 as a show amount and then just drop it. That's no bueno. Yeah, exactly, Omar. At $30, it wasn't hard. It was hard. Gus, normally, let's say they came out and Lucid said, hey, this isn't true, then yeah, this probably would drop to around 10 in my head, at least 10.50-ish. So that probably is the potential downside of it. The market right now is kind of in limbo because of the upcoming Fed rate decision. So I think everyone's just more so on edge about that. Plus, there's a lot of big earnings coming out as well. So I'll share that with you guys, because there are some big ones that is coming out. I think I shared it. I thought I did. Nope, I guess I didn't. Okay, well, I didn't. I think actually in reality UPS is tomorrow morning, and that one's going to be a very big indicator on how well the economy is doing. Bears got another one? Or was this his? Because I know he did initially get it, a cease and desist letter. Ahmad, yes, they can. Technically, if they, well, I don't know actually. If you really didn't want to sell your shares, you could, I'm sure, be against it where you hold them. You just would have to contact your broker, but keep in mind it'd be untradeable, so everything that you have would be worthless. But if you wanted record to say Lucid on there, I guess you could fundamentally. Well, yeah, especially with you're right, with Tesla's recent earnings, they have 22 billion in cash. Like they could outright just buy Lucid right now if they really wanted. Actually, no, just shy of it. So 23 billion. So they'd need to do a little bit more of a dilution, a little bit, but. Exactly. Mio, yeah, that's a very good point. That's the thing. Also, they did that also secondary joint venture as well that is hedging against Lucid, so it's with that Chinese company. It doesn't make sense. So that's one of the arguments in favor of no, that it's not really real. Oh, thanks, Omar. As long as you guys get something out of it, that's all that matters. Interesting price action, though. Very, very interesting what's happening. So I'll give you guys one final quick update. Market's about closed anyways in 1 minute. So it looks like shorts haven't really done anything today. Cost to borrow for the most part 101%. 358,000 shares in fact being increased today, but still a drop in the bucket because there's 164 million shares being shorted. So that's something just to kind of be aware of. As far as what is happening with options today, and as far as the options today, what did I type in? Insider trading? Nope. Oh, inside. There we go. So as far as this goes, same kind of thing yesterday. This is clearly a lot of shorts hedging as well. This kind of hit and miss, but yeah, it's starting to die down a little bit. So I think right now everyone is just waiting for verification, and in reality that probably won't come, to be fully honest. It won't come. Next thing that us as investors can really look forward to is the shareholder meeting, is the earnings, which is on the 22nd, and outside of that is going to be the shareholder meeting on April 24th. But I sure as hell hope that we find out a little bit more context before April 24th. That would be absolutely just crazy. But this morning was a little bit more of a gamma squeeze as well. Maybe next Monday might happen in addition, but like I said, all of this being up 15%, pre-market was just all market makers covering. So if you are like myself, just take a step back, realize that we don't have enough information to make a sound decision. Clay, we may never know, to be fully honest. Hopefully the 22nd, so we might have 2-3 weeks until we have to find out from Lucid earnings, but yeah, that's the joy of investing in Lucid. But I just wanted to quickly pop on. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. I'm going to do a little bit more live streams. So tomorrow I think I'm going to be doing my Mullen one, but on Friday I'll do one option or one Lucid live stream as well. So if you guys are enjoying that, definitely stay tuned for that. But other than that, you guys have a good rest of the day. And yeah, it's been a slice over the last couple of days. I think Lucid definitely needed that. Investors just slowly were, I think, not really caring so much about Lucid. You can kind of tell that based on the sentiment and just how much people were talking about it. But because of this, what happened on Friday, people are now aware that, hey, someone or maybe something is looking at Lucid to buy it. So maybe I should too. So I think it helped. But like I said, you guys have a good day and stay cool, guys.